Okay, so I'm making my fourth installment of these depersonalization videos. I hope I don't get you guys bored, but I understand the gravity of the situation for people who have depersonalization. I mean, it's not like you have the flu or something as simple as that. This is something very terrible. And every day, I don't only help the depersonalization community. I help the benzodiazepine withdrawal community also, and to some extent the Paxil community. Today I want to talk about something. It's a very sketchy topic or subject. Of course, we're still in the same realms of DPDR. What I would like to say, well, first of all, not everybody who gets DPDR becomes spiritual. And when I say the word spirituality, I hope you don't start running thinking I'm a psycho, because I'm not talking about spirituality in the sense that in voodoo or in all these other things. I can't disprove them, but that's not what I'm talking about today. Today I'm going to be talking about I like to call what other people like to call spirit consciousness. Now, our consciousness, I see it as something separate from our minds. The mind, I see it as, if you want to compare it to a computer, our mind is the hardware, your consciousness is the software. It dictates how the program works. Now you have other stuff like your subconscious and other deeper subjective issues. The conscious itself is not an objective thing either. But I would like to talk about how it relates to DPDR. Now, when I started to recover from DPDR, both times that I recovered, I started to notice a few changes inside of me. And these changes is what I call inner peace. I felt emotional peace. I felt not that I was going to recover, because like I said the first time, I had no idea I was going to recover, but I felt in peace with myself, in tuned. Now this goes completely against what DPDR makes other people feel, or anybody who has DPDR makes them feel. It makes them feel not at peace with themselves. They feel anxiety, they feel fear, they feel hate, they feel all these negative emotions. Now, if you were to understand a little bit more about, and a lot of people might say, Fiscal, why do you think you're this psychologist or whatever? And maybe it's experience, and I've been in this since I've been 17 years old, 16 actually. I'm 29. And I think experience, again, you don't need to go to school to gain experience in a certain subject. If you're exposed to something for a long time, you eventually become very kind of like an expert in the subject. But first of all, I would like to talk about how thoughts create feelings and the feelings create emotions. Now, this is when I say you have to change a negative thought to a positive thought. I could tell this to a person who has anxiety, but I cannot say this to a person who has DPDR, just because of the state of mind they're in. I could tell a person with anxiety to think of a happy place, think of the beach, think of a sunset, sunrise, think of the sun, think of all these nice things, but a person who has DPDR, none of these things are real. So it's very hard to get into the mind and try and do a little bit of CBT with someone who has DPDR. So the only conclusion, or the only way I might get into somebody's internal mindset who has DPDR is to try and tell them, like I said in my last video, to try and not give those negative thoughts too much power. And the point that I'm getting to also is also with the grief process. Once the grief process has started and you're not violating it by drinking or taking drugs or doing all these other bad things that will not let your body and your mind reach its homeostasis. When you think about the grief process, you'll realize that the whole grief process is actually a very spiritual, very internal, conscious action. You first, like I said, you cannot accept it, and there's a whole bunch it's a big cycle, and you can, like I said, you can Google it. And part of the success of the grief process, which is an internal thing that we have, just the same reason why we got DPDR, we have this thing called the grief process. It's a beautiful thing. If we didn't have it, we would all want to kill ourselves for the minimum or the minimal stuff. Like I said, if one of your kids died and the grief process wasn't there, then you would want to die for the rest of your life, and your life would be over. So from an evolutionary point of view, the grief process is a very, very perfect tool. Just like the fight or flight instinct, which is anxiety. It's a very perfect tool. It helps us get over things. It helps us get over psychologically traumatizing stuff. So when you go through the grief process, basically you have thoughts, and one of the last parts of the grief process is accepting whatever issue happened. And once you accept DPDR, which, like I said, is not up to you, it's something that you go through. Just like the way you maybe when you got DPDR, you're not in control of it. Once this happens, the thoughts that you have change, and once this happens, the feelings that you have change, and once these feelings change, your emotions change, and once you have positive, good emotions and peaceful emotions, and when you feel like you love yourself, this is when something truly beautiful is going to start to happen. And this is when your brain is going to say, why do I need to be separated from reality? I don't need to anymore. I can accept my external world the way it is because I am fine with it. I can live with this. But if your external world is still hell, is everything, and the grief process still hasn't done its job, your brain will never come out of that state of mind. And I'm not saying that the grief process is something that lasts 10 years. The grief generally, by the rule of thumb, is 6 months. And this is, just a conservative estimate. But for some people it's longer, for some people it's shorter. But the only reason why the grief process may last for 10, 20 years for someone who has DPDR is because they take medications and they drink alcohol, and they live in an environment that does not let them live in peace. I know a girl that she lives in New York, and she lives in the Times Square, in one of the top buildings. I said this by itself would probably give me DPDR because it's so hectic, It's such a horrible environment. I mean, it's nice to go visit, but to live there with all that noise, all the taxi and all the people and all those lights, I mean, it's a big thing. I mean, but again, I'm not saying that this is why she has DPDR. I'm just saying that it might help to maybe move a little bit further from Times Square, maybe move to one of the suburbs, and where there's more peace and quiet, and just like I said, let that peace come to you. Let that peace come to you. I myself, I'm a very spiritual person. I don't practice meditation. I don't practice any of that stuff. Yoga, none of that. I love the ideas of Buddha. I love the ideas of Sikhs. I am not religious. I think religion separates people. But again, you can't judge me or the way that I think just based on my thoughts. I'm just saying that the fact that I have become very spiritual has helped me dig inside deeper of my consciousness to try and find an answer for those who still have not gotten to that point and don't need to go that long to find their inner peace. And again, stay safe, stay away from all kinds of bad stuff, okay? Let your body go. Peace.